everybody, Strategic Operative here. Today we're going to be looking at my favorite way to play Duel ISDs in Star Wars Armada. This strategy can use both with the Kuat, Simoon, ISD-1, ISD-2, any variant of those you can use the strategy for, and each one brings its own flexibility and fun different tactics along with it. This has to involve a pincer move, but it doesn't start out as a pincer. What you do is you start your ISDs right along the middle of your deployment zone, typically within about range 5 of each other on your squadron maneuvering dial. Keep it about 5 distance. You start your ISDs off around 2 speed, and you're going to be running a lot of nav tokens. And with those tokens, you're going to try facing your ISDs, charging at your opponent. You're going to have one ISD try to break off left or right, and of course all of this is going to be dependent upon what your asteroids and your debris fields, where those are placed, also how your opponent is placing his fleets and what the objectives are in the game. The idea here though is to break his fleet into 2 separate fleets to match both ISDs. You're just putting them separated far enough apart to where they're seen as individual threats, not a fleet threat overall. Now the goal is you're going to converge those two, typically around round 3, you're going to bank your second ISD, you're going to pick it up to speed 2, you're going to get your extra click with your maneuvering token, and you're going to use your nav command, and you're going to bank your ISD to face only half of the fleet that one of your ISDs was facing originally. And that sort of eliminates, and almost around when you're coming up to round 4, they only have half their fleet to use to try to outmatch 2 ISDs fully loaded. And let me tell you, that doesn't end well for the second opponent. You typically should be able to knock out, if it's Rebel, you should be able to knock out essentially any ship that's probably 8 hull or less within a round, with 2 ISDs, bearing down on it, possibly dual arc, depending on how you planned it and you strategize for that to happen. If it's another ISD, maybe a round or 2, but you're sort of making one side of his fleet obsolete to a degree. Probably long to medium range are still going to be effectively hitting you, but around round 4 to round 5, the way your first ISD banked off, you set it up to jump to a speed 3 and swing back around. To be able to hit your opponent's secondary half fleet, almost rail in the tail end of their butt, to where now you're just going in this big circle chasing each other, and you've successfully knocked out half of their fleet prior to this, and all you have to do from this point is just be smart and not die, and you should be able to win the match. Of course, this is depending on what your objective is in the game. But ideally, it's a cool idea and a cool strategy to have just in the back of your mind. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be able to implement that strategy, and if you see that everything is just working so well up to that point, if you're using dual ISDs. Of course, you can, for the Rebel variant, you could of course do the MC-75. That's the closest alternative you're going to get to an ISD, and you can dual MC-75s, and they work really well for close quarters, black die. I wouldn't necessarily recommend long range dice equipped with a MC-75, which is why I would preferably go more with a Simoon if you're going to be doing this dual list, but you can do it with Kuat and any of the other ISD variants as well. Let me know what you guys think of the strategy. It's just a fun thing to keep in the back of your mind. Like I said, you can use it whenever you see it's appropriate for you to, or just a fun little thing just to keep and just have a new strategy when you're playing the game for dual ISDs.